It's the Tony Lee Show Community Connection, the show that connects you to issues, events, and people in our community on KNZR.
Hello, once again. I'm glad to be with you. I want to talk about something that I'm going to learn a lot here, but I definitely will enjoy what we're going to learn. We're going to talk about art. And art is something that, believe it or not, everybody does. Everybody is involved in one way or the other. We look around our homes, look around our offices, and we find things that they're art. It may not be from an original artist or somebody that we know. If we even go down to the local department store and buy a picture that we like and hang it on the wall, we may not know who painted that picture or that sculpture sitting on the counter. May not know who did that or why they did it. What were they thinking? What did they want to invoke in us when we look at that? But we have it there because it does evoke something in us. It brings something out. So art is really a pretty important thing, has always been. If we look back to the walls of the cave people, they had art, and that art told the story that they wanted you thousands of years later to understand. So, with that being said, I want to introduce you to an artist whom I just met, and I'm going to learn a lot from her. Her name is Deidre Hathor. Did I say that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Deidre is, I guess I've forgotten the word now, a muralist. Is that the right way to say that?
Yes, I'm a muralist, mural
Okay.
artist.
Now, is that one of the things that you do, or is that it? That is the main feature that you do.
I'm a multifaceted artist, so I dabble in a lot of different things. One of my best-selling things is my jewelry. So if you
Mhm,
went down to Bird Dog Arts Gallery in Tejon Outlets, which is where the Nike factory is at, where all electric charging stations are at, you would find
mhm.
my jewelry and my art. So I have canvas art and I also have jewelry. I deal a lot with
Okay.
recycled materials, metals, and resin. But I do
Mhm.
portraits and commissions, and yes, I paint murals.
Okay. Well, the murals I find really interesting because other kinds of art, maybe we are, I don't know, more accustomed to seeing various types of art like jewelry or paintings or sculptures and things of that nature. But we see murals, we see them all the time. But I think they're so huge. And when I see them, sometimes I almost think of it as part of the architecture, before I kind of grew up, shall we say. And I would see it. I know it's there, but it didn't dawn on me that somebody had to paint that. Somebody put that there. Someone's imagination and their ability to upscale things from something that I could see and hold in my hand to something that covers the entire side of a building. What size murals do you work with? Because there are
Oh,
various sizes.
so we do it all. We have done 40 feet foot buildings. We've done murals that are big as football fields. We've done
Hmm.
murals that go straight up, that go straight across. We've done large murals, 60 feet. We've done Lancaster's mayor's office, which is City Hall. We've done the whole outside of that building, and we had to get a lift. Most of the things we got to do, they need lifts. So we have the East Chester mural, downtown Bakersfield off the 19th, and the Assistants League. Those are really tall buildings, and
Mhm,
those are us. And also the locale, which is right across from the post office. That's a bit
mhm,
in the right there, the national international bus station, which was right across from the Greyhound they tore down, where you see that
mhm.
Bakersfield map and the grapes and the oranges and that citrus. That's up high
Okay.
too, and that's us
o-
too.
Okay. Now, when you say us, who is us? Is that a firm? Is
So
that a?
yeah,
Go ahead.
so I work individually. I have some projects like Mercy House that I do on my own, and then I work with my partner Brandon Thompson. He's actually the one who taught me how to do murals. I was already going big. I had huge canvases, 5 by 8, 5 by 4 canvases as tall as you stand, and those were in galleries, and those were
Mhm,
in L.A. And
mhm,
then when I got with him, he was painting murals. He did the one at Martin's Meat, the big Martin's Meat, the guy cutting the meat. He did that one, and then this is during pandemic, so in the 20s, 2020, Yeah, 2020. We did the Bloom mural, which is under Kentucky and Bill, under that underpass, and that one's right underneath the highway, and it's like way up in the sky.
Mhm.
And the other side was the community mural on the left hand side of
Mhm.
that. So I started with him, and I've worked with him and learned from him. There's like different types of ways you can do murals. You can
Mhm.
just do it from your heart, from your spirit. But the client really wants to see the design first. So you have to digitally design it or draw it out, give it to the client, and then either you project it onto a wall or you use a stencil or you use a doodle grid. All those things I learned underneath him. And all those things we teach in our art class, ask artists seeking knowledge. So we teach mural classes, we do Mural Alley, we do a lot of other different places as an artist collective. And
Mhm.
that's what I mean by us. Because the
Okay.
skate park
Very
took
well
like
said.
at least 20 artists. It was
Yeah.
huge. It's
Okay.
like 5 pikes and ramps. It's huge.
Mhm. And that to me becomes another interesting factor is how you get several people to work on one project. And they all have to have the same vision, I would think, in order to do that. Otherwise, I might be working on the eye, but realize that, well, maybe I like eyes, but that guy over there, he likes to work on hands. So, what do we have? An eye here and a hand over there. Um, there's some way that you have to put this together so that everybody has the same vision. They know what
Yeah,
this is going to look like when it comes out. And
it's so
how do you
interesting
do
that
that?
you said that. You mentioned that earlier about how architects work. So in
Yeah.
some jobs, like Pepsi or Starbucks or major corporations, they specifically know how they want the stuff. And the architects or the people that are renovating the building, they
Mhm.
know where they want a mural to go. This is going to be
Mhm.
art. There's going to be plants, seating, all that. That's already into the design. So with the
Okay.
designer, the mural artist who's designing the um, the mural for the client, we basically have to go through everything, all the way down to the colors to the paints, and we look at the strengths of our artists. So basically, if I get a mural and I do it with the community, then I know what levels I have, and then if I add my artist team, I know who's who. I know who can do realism. I know who can do abstract. I know who can do hard lines. I know who can do nothing but lay paint, nothing but
Okay.
prime. And then you know the strengths and you keep with the it's like a conductor. And that's the way
Mhm.
that you conduct the whole entire thing because everybody can't use spray paint. But with some walls you have to have spray paint and some fences because you can't get into the crevices. It's deep stucco.
Mhm.
You be there for a
Mhm.
1,000 years. And then with some paint, you just have to have paint to really get the detail of the person's eyes or face or lips. Or if you want to do 3D on top of 3D, you might need to have paint or just
Yeah.
cut back and clean up.
Mhm.
So
And you
I
did
hope I didn't
mention
go down a rabbit
3D.
hole.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to this, though. I mean, it's not a kind of like a one subject kind of a topic. I think there's so much to it. Like the idea of if I think of painting a mural on a wall, the first thing I'm going to think about is A, it's outside, so it's subject to the weather, the sun, things that will fade it, and so on. B, the place that I'm putting it, this wall, as you mentioned, there are textures there, and there may be grooves or crevices. And somehow you have to figure out how to get the paint in there in those crevices so the person looking at it sees an entire image and they don't see just an image with a line under it or a big space under it or a gap in it or something like that. And then I'd worry about, is that wall clean? Is it clean enough that I could paint on it and it would stay, as opposed to when the dirt falls off, the paint comes with it. How do you do that? How do you get the paint to stick to a wall outdoors in the sun and the wind and the rain?
Actually, you really did a really good job with the whole entire trajectory of what you were talking about because those are really important. When you size up a wall, the cost of the mural goes into the location of the wall. Some people want us to paint right beside the train tracks. And the only way to get our supplies into that train track area is to cross the train tracks. And is there a
Uh-huh.
storage there? Is there a bathroom there? Because females got to use the bathroom more than guys do, or guys can just go wherever they want to go. So you got to discuss that. Is it dangerous? You see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
dangerous. When we did the Bloom mural, oh my God, we had to have like security and volunteers to come and watch out because street art is real
Mm,
different than just being a muralist. Muralists can paint inside like a nice, beautiful hotel or a hospital or an office. Those are muralists. Those are still muralists, like anthropologists and archaeologists. They're still
right.
muralists, but street art, they have to like to be with the elements. You have to basically love to be out with people because they're going to stop you. They're going to talk to you. What are you doing? Where are you from? How'd you do this? You
Mhm.
getting paid for this?
Yeah.
You got a certificate? Who got you this and all that kind of thing? And it brings down your time. So you have to always have people there that can block it off and make sure people don't distract the artist. But I like talking to the people. So I'm that
Mhm.
person that talks to the people. And usually 9 times out of 10, the person that's really, really focusing, he talks too, is Brandon. But our team usually focuses straight in because you got to get the job done. But yeah, there's all those
Mhm.
elements. And in Bakersfield, you have to prep the wall because it's very, very dusty.
Mhm.
This is a
Yeah.
dusty place. So you got to prep the wall,
Mhm.
or the tape won't even stick. If you're trying to block a window, the tape will not stick unless you clean the walls off. And then the paint is going to look. It's just terrible. We buff and sand our walls if it needs to be buffed and sanded, and then we prime it, and then we
Mm.
prepare to paint the wall. Those are all the things we do first, and that's how it sticks. And after we finish it, because we're in Bakersfield, and if you were in LA, any major city, I would expect the same thing. We put a
Mhm.
graffiti coat on top of that just to protect for graffiti because you can't go out there and keep repainting the painting. You have to
Mhm.
just wash it off, and voila, it still looks beautiful.
So then, and I do see that there are two different kinds of artists in the sense that there are people like you that paint in places that people are asking you to paint and actually paying you to come and paint in those areas. And then you have the guy that sneaks in there at night with a can of spray paint and just does whatever, some crazy initials or letters or whatever. I don't know what those things mean, but apparently it means something to that guy that did that. How do you um, how do you keep that from happening to your work? I mean, you've been commissioned to paint this mural 40 feet tall on a wall outside somewhere, but then at some point you have to go home and get some rest. So you're not standing out there with a machine gun guarding it to make sure nobody defaces it. I mean, is there some kind of a pact between the two kinds of artists that nobody
So
will come and mess
when
up your work?
when there's two ways you do it. One, let me just mention the fact about tagging and graffiti. Graffiti is typography, so that is art. You can literally go and pick out if you were going to get some fonts and you wanted to do some fonts or something, you can pick up one of the fonts inside that says graffiti and it's typography. A lot of people can't read it. That's what's on the trains. You're like, whose name is that? I'm gonna get it. And then there's tagging. Somebody can hire you to do graffiti. Somebody called me to do graffiti inside the gym. They wanted the words to be in graffiti in the gym. I was like, why did you pick me? Because I'm not the graffiti person. That's really Brandon, but they like that I do colors, so I could see why they picked me. I could still do it. I just do a different technique of it. Now the tagging is when nobody is paying you to do that. You don't own
Mhm.
the property, you don't own the sign, you don't own the building, you don't own any of that, and you decide to put your name here. That's what this is disrespectful and it's illegal. Okay, so now
Yeah.
getting to how do you prevent somebody from tagging? Usually, depending on whether it's the city or whether it's a private business, we still leave our cones up and we leave our yellow tape around it, and usually they will have security for that area. But like the Heritage Skateboard, we had a really hard time, really, really hard time with that because that was a place that already had what I would call an infestation of graffiti.
Mhm.
However, that's what skaters do. Most, not saying that all skaters tag, I'm saying that there's taggers that skate. So that was
Mhm.
an area that they expressed themselves on. So I wanted to make the art to be as appealing to them. So I wanted to have that type of typography for them. So if they did tag it, you wouldn't be able to see it because it's camouflage within the message would stop the hate. And so That was the campaign throughout. And we titled it "Skate Not Hate." And so
Hmm.
I would made it in such a way it was really, really busy and really, really had a lot of abstract and a lot of colors, and it was a lot of big boom words. So if they tagged it, you really couldn't tell that it was tagged unless they really went over the whole entire thing. In that case,
Hmm.
then usually the client or the city and the county most likely always does this, but don't quote me, but in my experience, they do. They'll have a budget set aside for the artist, or they'll call the artist and they'll pay the artist to come out and come out periodically once a year, every
Uh,
6 months, depending on how much activity is there. But there's budgets inside our city, Kern County and Bakersfield, to do that. As far as clients are
mhm.
concerned, they really make sure that they protect it with graffiti coat. They always pay for graffiti coat. It's an extra cost, and
Yeah.
it protects from UV rays, and it protects from the breakdown of the colors. You can drive past a lot of the murals in our town basically, and you can tell who used a coat on the mural and who didn't, because the colors not still as vivid as they were as you
Hmm.
saw years and years before that. And
Hmm.
that's the only way you can do it. You can either paint the mural up higher to where they're not going to reach, where down low is the car level and people are driving by and there's not much color, and it could be a solid color and you can come back and easily clear that color up and have the mural
Hmm.
be up higher. And, or you can just pay to bring the artist back or put a coat on.
Yeah. We're going to take a short break and then we'll do a station identification, come back, and we'll continue our conversation. We're talking with Deidre Hathor. Did I say her? I think you told me how to say Deidre, but how about
Deidre,
Hathor?
Deidre's spot on. I say Hathor, but it is Hathor. Hathor is a goddess of creativity in Egypt, and they pronounce it Hathor. It
Okay.
could be Hathor, Hathor, economics, economics.
And okay. Which do you prefer? Because I think it's your name, so I need to honor
I like
you
the
by
ha,
saying it as
ha,
directly as I can.
ha,
Okay. Got it.
Hathor.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm going to try and
Thank you. That's
remember
kind
that,
of you.
and we will definitely stick with that. So, but as I said, we'll be back in just a moment and continue our talk, and you'll learn some things that I'm going to learn too. So stick with me on it and stick with Deidre because she's got the info. And you're right here on KNZR and on Community Connections. We'll be back.
And now back to the Tony Lee Show Community Connection on KNZR.
Somehow to me it is an interesting battle. I don't know if that's the right way to characterize it, but we have what I and again, pardon me if I speak out of school here and I don't know the right terminology, and you probably have a greater respect for a wider realm of people who do visual arts than I do, because I just don't know that that's art. Like the guy that tagging, I've heard that word, but I wasn't sure exactly what it meant. But those are the guys that I seem to have a problem with, because they take. I had a truck. I had a huge truck, and I parked it in Fresno one night and had to go inside the building. I was in there almost all night long. I came back out, and sure enough, some guy with his spray can had gotten on the side of my big white panel truck and put some scribbling thing. I wanted to shoot that son of a gun if I could have found him, because you've destroyed my property. I have to now go out and find some way to clean that up and clean that off. I certainly didn't ask you to do it. So, to me, these people are destroying property that is not theirs, and I do not honor them, quite honestly. You, on the other hand, are doing something that is a beautiful work of art that is descriptive of something that people really should be able to embrace. And you've been asked to do this as opposed to you just pick a wall and say, I think there's a good spot. I think I'll just do this right there. So, I mean, I put you in a whole completely different category. And you are the person that I describe as an artist, a true artist. How do you feel? I mean, what do you think when you think about the two different kinds? Some people would say, well, that is art. That's my name or my moniker or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it even. But they think they put it there and they think it's art, I guess. But I'd like to know from a real artist, what do you think?
This is an underground group of artists that that like to, I don't know whether you call it tagging, scripting, graffiti, and they go places and they do it and they compete, and it's done professionally and there's a winner. And then there's those who just want to put their name around town. And I think personally, which is the reason why one of the reasons why we started the art class was to motivate, create, and educate, was to allow another form of that spray paint, another form of that marker, another form. So yes, you have talents and abilities, but let's take that talent and abilities and let's move it into something. It's kind of like playing street ball and basketball, or you can play organized basketball. So we're trying to move those artists into a more organized field to where they can actually get paid, because a lot of muralists were once taggers or were once, graffiti artists. So we just want to give them a new view. If you don't see anything else out there, you don't know there's anything else out there for you to do. And a lot of people that come to our class have experienced spray paint before. Some haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And we teach them control, and we teach them direction, we teach them respect. Because what if it's your truck was a canvas, it was sitting like a sitting duck, because it was white and it was plain and it was like, it was virginess, ready for anybody to come and do. That in particular was totally wrong. And he thought he was doing something great and thought the rest of his peers would be like, whoa, look at you. You did something. We need to, besides it being a criminal offense,
Mm-hmm.
we need to look at it as a way of redirecting that thought, because it's only a thought. It's a thought, it's an action, it's behavior, the learned behavior. And we have to unlearn it. I remember I used to write on the desk and the teacher said, why are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know. There's like paper. There's literally paper. I'm like, you're right. And there's a book if you need one. I'll give you a book. But this desk will be here when you leave for the next 10 years, for the next 10 kids. And I'm like, oh, you're right. So as an artist, we
Mm-hmm.
want to make things, we want to amplify things. We don't want
Mm-hmm.
to make it destructive.
Mm-hmm.
We want to leave this world a better place than we left it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we want to do with anything that we create. With your voice is art. Your voice is a tone. It has a vibration. It's melodic. And you are using your frequency to do what you do. So it's an art.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can't do what you
This
do.
is my
They can't think on their feet. You're
Mhm.
thinking a thought ahead of me as I'm talking to you. Even though you're listening,
Yeah.
you're way ahead of me, like 3 questions away. This is an art. It's like a dance. And it's the same thing with you let somebody talk in a different way or in a different tone that's disrespectful, or belittle a person in your presence with words, because people's words hurt. And some people can master the
Mm-hmm.
tongue and some can't. And some people know how to use the right words to hurt the right people. But a person like you, an orator, you would have the ability to say something and communicate to that person. They could hear you, because this is what you do. You will be calling them on their stuff, because they're using words and they're not using words in the correct way that they could positively use words. And that's the same thing as us artists. As artist leaders, as teachers, or just humans.
Mm-hmm.
We have an
Mm-hmm.
obligation to just be ourselves, but to also teach, because we want to leave the place better, but leave people with the ability to do what we came to do, not just say it because I said so. But then why?
Mm-hmm.
Because, bro, you can make money. You are good at this, but let's streamline it.
Yeah. And the classes that you teach will help people to do that. So I want to mention that because I think, and we're going to get Deidre to mention it too, because she can really tell you how it goes. But she has classes that are available, and we're going to get you some information about those classes so that you can attend and you can send other people that you know, your family, your kids, your cousins, and so on, get them to go to that class as well. And it will open their minds and expand their horizons when it comes to what you can do with art and how you might actually be an artist and just didn't know it yet. So get something to write on, and we'll give you that information coming up here in just a little bit. I want to give you a minute to, get a hold of some paper and pens so you can write that down. So, Deidre, how long have you been doing this artwork in general? I mean, it sounds like it's been a lifelong process for you as an artist.
I have been doing art all my life. My mother literally just allowed us the freedom to be who we wanted to be. And
Mhm.
so she let me paint on my wall. I don't even know why she would let me do that, but I did. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And you remember those mellow cups? I used to eat the mellow cups, and I would, because I don't know what we did when we were kids, but all the candy with all kind of stuff in it. But the mellow cups, the paper had dye in it. And so I would dip the paper in the water and I put them on the walls and I would make the perfect flowers. And then I take the mellow cup
Ah,
paper off and then I make my flower stems and put flowers all over my wall. So that was my beginning
mhm.
stages of art. My brother was an artist. So I watched him do art. And then I just like painting on clothes and tennis shoes. When we went through the hip hop stage, I was like throwing stuff, paint on my shirts and paint on my socks and paint on my shoes and paint on my. And I thought I was so cool, and it just translated into this because of the freedom that I had to be able to create.
Mhm. Yeah. Where can we see some of your work, some of the art that you've posted, like perhaps some of the murals that you've done? Because being a muralist is that sort of like your main thing that you enjoy is being a muralist, or do you enjoy all of it equally?
See, that's the thing about it. So if you talk to like old school artists, they would tell you to pick a lane and stick with it. Whatever it is that you're, just pick one of them. But I know Picasso and Rembrandt, all them, Michelangelo, they did statues, and they did murals, and they did painting, and they did pencil. And I'm the same thing. I do whatever resonates with me. My goal is to live a life where I'm following my bliss, where I'm in that sweet spot. It's kind of like Kobe or Jordan, where they're just like, they can't miss nothing. Everything that is hitting net. So I had to meditate and get into the moment and what is resonating with me. Do I really want to work small? Do I want to get these small little tools and work with making jewelry? Or do I want to go large? Or do I want to go real large? And I'm getting ready to do an Angela Davis one because Black August is coming up. And I just want her life legacy because she's in her 80s now to be known by all generations. So I'm going to do a huge painting that could be a mural. It's going to be on wood, so it can be moved different places. So it's like 8 foot, 8 feet,
Mhm.
and so I'm more like to me. I think I like if I had to pick one. They say, okay, go on. You got 3 or 4 rooms. These are all the supplies you need. Pick a room and go in that room first. Now you see the little babies. Come on, come on. Who you gonna come to? Which person in the family? I would go towards 3D art. I like um I like 3D collage art. I like telling stories. I love the consciousness of people who did it for us with their words. So I like typography. I like just taking a statue, a stand, something somebody can touch. And there's don't touch the art. No, you can touch it. And I like it. I like something that's going to be off the wall, stand off. But at the same time, I do like murals because everybody can see it and it changes the atmosphere right where you're at, the vibrational
Yeah.
frequency. But it takes a
Yeah.
long
You
time.
mentioned something.
You got
Yeah, earlier on, you mentioned something I thought was really impacting. It really got to me. And when you talk about touchable art, tactile art, and that you make art intended for people to touch. And among those people are people who are blind, and you can see the painting like you can read Braille. And I just think that is fascinating. And it's so giving of you to be able to do that and provide art, not only for those of us who are sighted, but for those of us who are not sighted. And they can enjoy that very, very same art because it's there, made for them to actually feel it and read it and embrace that. And I just think that is fantastic. Where can we
Well,
see that?
I appreciate you with that. I really, really do. It makes me happy that it's appreciated. There's a 3D mural wall at Habitat for Humanity. It's on the inside, and it's made of
Okay.
all metals and wood. Excuse me. And the interesting thing about it is that was and still am an avid shopper at Habitat Restore. Love it. So they called for ask. They called Brandon, but they called for ask. They wanted to do a community project with us painting a mural, but he actually wanted to use the metals and wanted to be 3D. So that was right in my category. So us, the art class, and myself, Brandon took all these nails. He made a thing out of wood that says Restore. And then he put the nails
Mhm.
all through it. So it's all nails. The whole Restore is in nails. But above that, it says Habitat for Humanities. And it's old watches. It's old spaghetti. It's things that you haven't seen or didn't know. You're like, what is that? It's like a gas cap from a truck from
Wow.
1920. What is
Right.
that? And but you can still touch it because it's so secure and
Yeah.
anybody can touch it. But
Mhm.
multi-sensory art is good for children too, because especially kids that are have autism or they're hyper or they're at risk, being able to touch something and see the different textures of something and how that
Right.
works out. The spoon mural was at the locale. They changed it. They changed it out to some copper pennies, resin floor. But the spoon mural was downtown locale. It was in a restaurant for 4 years, and inside had little sunglasses, rubber duckies, like every 6 or 7 spoons. And the color of the spoon, if it was yellow, it would say Braille, and Braille would say yellow. If it was
Mhm.
swirl, it would say purple and white swirl. And so
Mhm.
anybody coming through, and a lot of the people that came through were people that were blind because of diabetes. So they were
Mhm.
able to see at one time, and then they lost their eyesight. And you, every time it happened, it was never a dry eye. Them
Yeah.
and us, everybody.
Wow.
It's just
Yeah.
the impact of allowing somebody to touch the art. And like at Bakersfield Museum of Art, I sold a piece of art that had somebody donated to the art class a whole bunch of Amanda Shea. She donated a whole bunch of fabric. She does fabric
Mhm.
downtown, and she does,
Mhm.
she does cloth stuff. She's a seamstress. Okay, so they donated the cloth, and so you had the corduroy, and you had the blue jean, and you had the satin. Why not use all that? Put that inside the art. So it was put
Mhm.
inside the art, and it was like a big sign that said "L.A. this way," the 5, and then it said
Yeah.
Bakersfield, and then it said "Live your best life," and the river was
Mhm.
the blue jeans, and it was an amazing piece, and
Yeah.
so
Deidre, I'm sorry to have to interrupt you, but we've got to do a break and do another station identification. But it's so fascinating talking to you, and I don't want to interrupt, but I have to for
thank
a
you.
second. So, but hang in there because we'll be right back in just a second. We're
Thank you,
talking with
John.
Deidre Hathor. She is a muralist, an artist, and a really fantastic, fascinating person. So hang in there because we're going to give you some information here coming up in just a second. We'll let you know also the things that she's going to be doing so that she can kind of promote some of her events. So hold on. You'll be back on KNZR on Community Connections.
And now back to the Tony Lee Show Community Connection on KNZR.
Before we get too lost, I know there are things that you really want people to know, and among them would be the events that you're going to be doing so that people can come out and see not only your work, but see you work and see how you do these things. So, and classes that you have. So let's talk about the classes. And folks, I hope you got those pencils and pens I told you about and paper. Here's where you need it. So, what are some of the classes that you have coming up? And how do people find out about getting into it?
The classes that we have, our art class is called Artists Seeking Knowledge. It's a free community art class. from ages 5 and up. And this next 2 art classes that we have is July 12th and August 2nd. July 12th will be in our home studio, and Brandon is teaching intro to spray painting, and I'll be teaching mixed medium art. So those will be really good, 2 powerful classes. And then
Okay.
August 2nd will be at Mill Creek Park. We'll be at the Black Business Directory BBDI, and he'll be doing advanced spray painting, and then I'll be doing fluid painting, which is a painting drip. And then on July 7th, we'll be at David Nelson Pocket Park with 3G and Children's First, teaching an art class. And I'm going to be teaching the Jackson Pollock Splat. And I can't remember what Brandon's teaching, but we'll be teaching 2 classes. And then that's what we,
Okay.
so in September, we have Paint Her Whole. So Paint Her Whole is what I'll be doing. God bless you. And it's with Wendy Johnson, who's also an artist, and she's also a muralist. And it's with Love from Above, and it's at Dave and Buster's. And it's basically art therapy, and it gives you an opportunity to release any kind of stress and to have a little bit of talk therapy as you talk your way through the art. And this will be a guided art class for adults only, females only. And let me see. Oh, Juneteenth at Martin Luther King, Juneteenth with the community. I'll be out there. Just it's not gonna be an art class. I have my supplies, and we'll be leading, just having space for Juneteenth, all the colors to create the type of memory you want to have for past, present, and future.
Okay. Age-wise, you mentioned that one was for women and for adults. But of the other classes that you have, are there some that are specific like that they're for youth or they're for the blind? Or is that sort of generally what you would do? You'd put out a
All the
class for...
classes, all the classes are ages 5 and up. And the classes are just like church. You see one person every Sunday. You see one person once a month. You see some person's Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. And the same thing applies here. Sometimes you get to class and you'll see nothing but kids. Sometimes you get there, you see all adults. So it's a matter of whatever's being taught, whether it's realism art or whether it's stenciling or whether it's fluid painting, resin. Depends on the complexity of the art class. Depends on who's going to show up. But everybody, if they RSVP, is welcome at all ages and all brackets. But if you have a disability, like we have some people that have some stroke patients and people who have autistic children, if you have those kind of disabilities, we ask that you let us know ahead of time so we can prepare. But it's a free art class. We do take donations of all kind, which is financial, and we take paint, we take brushes, we take supplies, we take recyclable materials. So yeah.
So then how can people learn about these things or keep up with them? Do you have a website, for instance? People could go there and kind of see what's coming up and where to go to see it.
So my handle is everywhere. So it's the same everywhere. I don't care if you go to Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can reach me, Deidre Hathor, at whatever you're typing in. I'm going to show up. That's how I put it out there. That's
Okay.
DeidreHathor. The art class, which is Artist Seeking Knowledge, and we call it Ask, it's on Instagram. And that's where we take our RSVPs. That's where you ask any questions for anything. We're right there with you. And that's Artist Seeking Knowledge at Instagram, which is Ask. And our website, which is 11th, which is 11th, and which is AND, T as in Thompson, 11th and T, which is like downtown in Bakersfield, 11thandT.com/ask. And that's where you'll have our whole calendar. You'll see all the murals we did, all the classes we did. Not all of them, but you'll see a lot of them. We've been doing this for 5 years. So
I'm going to have to take a
You'll see a
short
lot
break.
of our work.
Looks like something's
Go ahead.
catching me in the throat here, but we have to do a station identification anyway. So let's do that, and we can both get a sip of something here to try to
Yeah.
soothe out whatever's going on in there. Hang on, folks, and be right back with you on KNZR and Community Connection.
And now back to the Tony Lee Show, Community Connection on KNZR.
Yeah, something wet going through the throat. That always helps. So
Yeah.
I just want to recap any of the things that you feel we should tell people again to get them interested. But one question I have for you is, do you think an artist is born or made?
I think me personally, and I need to speak for everybody. Everybody's an artist. Everybody's an artist. You're born as an artist. Everybody's a creative. It's just like everybody can sing. Everybody can't sing, but they can sing. Everybody can
Okay.
run, but they're not all gonna go to the Olympics. It's the same
Uh,
thing. So there's some people, everybody can create, and you never know. Like beauty's an eye of the beholder. Believe you me, there has been times when I knew for a fact, I could tell you, put my life on it, that this piece of art would not sell. I'm getting ready to paint over it, and that'd be the main one that would sell. It would sell first. So beauty's an eye of the beholder. Everybody has their tribe, and they have people that follow them for their very, very reason. So
mhm,
if a person naturally has a skill set, you can nurture that and you can bring it up. And then there's some
mhm.
people who just don't need any help and they're already there and they're just in the zone with it.
Right.
So you can grow it or you can have it and just do it and just do it for
Mhm,
yourself and not sell it to anybody. Or you can do
mhm.
it for yourself and it still sells. But the point is, everybody has the ability to do art. This is why I like the class because there's so many different mediums. You don't never know that you could be good at the pour. You could be good at drawing. You could be good at painting. You could be good at the mural. You could be good with makeup. You could be good with digital design. You don't know what
Mhm,
you're good at until you get into it.
mhm.
But you have to get into it, and that's what
Yeah.
frees you. My
Yeah.
instructor said me this one thing. My art teacher said, LA Mission College. She said, Deidre, if you would paint for 5 hours straight and not stop, then God would show up. And I thought, I cannot be sitting there for no 5 hours painting nothing. She must be crazy. But, but then one time I sat there for 5 hours and I hit that sweet spot. I was like, whoa. And that's what began everything. That's when love was right in there. So everybody
Yeah.
has the ability to be an artist. Just have to just do it.
Right. You know, I really do want to thank you for sharing all of that information and giving us a better vision, I guess, a better way of looking at art and seeing that there could be art inside all of us, but also telling us how to better appreciate the art that's outside of us that we can see, and especially your art. And I want to thank you for all of what you bring to the world, you know, that visual, that tactual, you can feel it, you can see it. And I think somehow I could imagine that that can change a life just by looking at some of the work that you've done. So thank you so much for being with us and explaining all that.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And I want to thank you folks out there for listening. And I hope you will take part and get out there and enjoy art. And please, I don't imagine the people who get out and destroy other people's property are watching us because they're not inclined to watch this kind of a program. But if you are, if you know someone that is, I think Deidre has it right on target. There is talent there. Just redirect it and put it in a direction that is helpful, not only to society, but to you yourself. And do something positive, do something good with what you have, what that God-given talent that was imbued within you. Do something good with it. With that, I'll say goodbye and thank you, Deidre. Thank you so much. And thank you
Thank you.
again
It
out
was a
there.
pleasure.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
That was the Tony Lee Show, Community Connection on KNZR.